Hello, and welcome to Creator Chat, a series where I interview different creators, allowing them to share their favorite games and to put a spotlight on whatever project they are working on. This is going to be the 6th interview I've done for this series, and today we have a very special Creator Chat chatting with the developers of Into the Abyss. We'll be chatting with a duo for the first time, and they have also given a small tour of some really awesome stuff in-game. So I hope you enjoy, and let's get right into it. Before we get started, I've got somewhat serious and important of a question to ask. Why is Dr. Gregory House as an orb in the lobby?
Okay, wait, I can answer this one. So basically, Dr. House, right? Specifically that house ball, it kind of derailed after that, was added by me when I was doing the initial lobby rework. Because before, the lobby was like a gray square with a red floor to signify a carpet. But I decided to do a whole new lobby remake. And there's this thing that I would do as a bad habit as a builder, is I would leave things purposely unanchored until I was ready to anchor everything. So I just said as a joke, it'd be really funny if I just put a ball into the lobby that people could just kick around because it would increase player retention. And the only reason that it specifically became Dr. House and the whole Dr. House snowball just started rolling was one of the boards on the board in the elevator is a picture of Dr. House. So I just reused one of the pre-made textures and later Gato prettied it up and gave it all the code to make it talk and stuff.
and like to build off of that, it all was like an inside joke with the Dr. House thing. We can't explain it specifically, but compare it to like, what is it, the drumsticks emote in Forsaken? It's an inside joke that became part of the game and it's being referenced constantly.
It's somewhat surprising. I've seen Gregory House in more games than one would expect to find Gregory House in. I think the new game, the one based off of Madness Combat or something, has a full shop with Gregory House as a 3D model in it.
Oh, that's perfect. Oh wait, I just remembered. Okay, so if you were to either clip out of bounds or look at a very specific angle in third person out of the window in the lobby, there is a huge plane that just Dr. House's face, and it's left there for people who find it.
Yeah, we even got Dr. House into the Project Rusher collab. If you look in the background of the song chart, the artifact that's on the pedestal is a ball with Dr. House's face on it.
Oh no, I'm gonna have to do a lot of research just to find Dr. House in odd areas.
Find my 7 Dr. House. I guarantee you'll find a new one.
It's like a Call of Duty Easter egg. You gotta do everything just to see Dr. House.
It's interesting that it's mentioned the window. Before this little, get together, I was actually checking out the game to grab a few more questions or to spot some few more details. And I was looking out that window. There was a lot of noticeable Z-axis fighting, but that's on the outside, so it doesn't matter, But I was looking for something, anywheres and anything. I didn't notice that. I didn't notice Dr. House as a plane out there.
It was probably blocked by the curtain. You kind of have to get onto the roof because the roof doesn't have collision, so there's some spots where you can jump up.
Oh.
And that's where people tend to peruse it.
Yeah, and the reason why it doesn't have collision is because if you had like so many people join, because we don't know how to exactly immediately set someone's collision group like at the time, we just made the roof invisible so that everyone fell through instead of getting stuck on the roof when they all piled up.
Yeah, because if we were to do like a full house command, which is when you like bring more than like 4 people into an elevator with debug commands, when people would come back to the lobby, they would all be stacked on top of each other's heads, and so the first 8 people would be in the lobby, then like the next 20 would be stuck on the roof.
Before we derail further into the lore of Dr. House and where you can find him in Roblox, who are you both and what do you do?
Alright, well, I'm Gato. I started off as like a very old game developer in Unity, and then I moved to Unreal, and then I moved to Roblox finally. And there was a ton of in-betweens, but for the most part, I've been a game developer since I was around 8, and I normally mod games. If you ever played Voices of the Void, I made the modding API for that, and also the multiplayer mod for that. But right now, I've like dedicated all my time to Into the Abyss with Gub and the rest of our team, and it's been fun.
Yeah, I'm also, so I've been animating since I was about, I'm gonna say 10 or 12. Like at first it would start out with like little scratch projects that worked basically like flip books with mixed costumes. But eventually I did move to more traditional 2D animation. And eventually I stumbled upon Gato and the Voices of the Void server. And I'm not a programmer, but I love making art and music and all that kind of stuff. So me and Gato have been kind of a good pair because I do a lot of the music and I teach myself things like 3D modeling. Like before this project, I never even touched Blender, but now I can probably say that I'm a little bit more experienced.
This little creator chat is going to be pretty cool. I've yet to have multiple people being interviewed at once, so congrats on being the first group. Additionally, you are the first people I don't have a direct connection to. Usually well, maybe not usually, but all of the previous creator chats, in some way I've known of them or I've chatted with them previously. So that leads me into a bit of a question. It feels like magic whenever developers suddenly make an appearance after I visit their game. So how did either one of you find out about the channel?
Okay, this was like a month ago, I believe, but I remember specifically first seeing it with the Roblox Underrated Games collab or creator chat. And I've been watching like your streams every now and then. I know you play, what is it, Minus Elevation? That was one of one of my inspirations, because I know Gub hasn't really played it that much, but I have. And I used to like think about every now and then reaching out to see if you'd be interested in seeing the game. And then one of my friends actually pointed out that you played the game on stream the other day. And me and Gub were like, hey, what if we got like in contact and tried to start our own creator chat? And that's how it went from there.
Yeah, and I have the self-confidence of a mule. I've walked up to literally make a support ticket to the pressure devs to put like a pandemonium into our game. So I'm a lot more comfortable when it comes to like reaching out to creators and stuff and saying, hey, how's it going? Because I like talking to people. I like talking to people like people.
Oh yeah, an addendum to that, that reach out message to the pressure devs actually worked. And we may or may not have one or two admin creatures that we could spawn. We do not talk about the one that I sent in chat.
Wait.
That house demonium's real.
Wait, that image of house?
If you want, like after this, I will pull you into a game and I'll show you. It's funny. He's just not going over there.
If you want, you can get into a chase with him because he's about the same speed as your sprinting speed. If you hear that like weird like.
Yeah, but that's the thing. You don't want to leave the locker. Pandemonium, are you gonna?
Got him!
Oh, get it!
Got him!
You good?
Did it work?
The good luck was definitely needed.
Oh no!
No, not so well. Yes, this is why we don't endorse pandemonium in our game yet fully.
We've just started this chat, and I think I have more questions and more realizations than I expected out of this. Minus Elevation, oh god, all roads lead back to Minus Elevation, don't they? And Voices of the Void was mentioned. I've played that game before. It's really cool to see which developers are connected to which in some, have either of you seen the chart where you can kind of connect games to other games, and usually the pathway is Fortnite? Like the Fortnite is an in-between connector to all other games and universes. It feels like that with this so far.
Yeah, it kind of is. Like, I don't think I've ever mentioned this, but quite literally, the gameplay loop was Lethal Company and Minus Elevation. Those were like the two inspirations that got the game started, and the name was originally something different that was almost directly the same as Voices of the Void, but I switched 2 words around, which made it seem like it was the same game, just with a different name. And I used that for like a year until we switched it to this. So
Yeah, it was just blank of the blank.
Enough of my curiosity. Let's talk about some of your favorite games. What are some of them?
Alright, well, like, starting with non-Roblox, Voices of the Void, absolutely. I played that game to death. I modded that game to death. It's one of my favorites. Before that, it used to be, like an SCP game, Secret Lab, I believe. I think I have over 1,000-something hours on that. For Roblox, both me and Gub got into Phighting. Minus Elevation and Spelunking both were pretty fun. Well, of course, Pressure, Doors, I like those games. Those were also a huge part of the inspiration. But that's all I can really think of off the top of my head.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say some of my favorite games tend to be more. It's either there's two boats. There's the more competitive side of games like Quaver, Tetris, all that kind of stuff. But I think one of the ones that really gets my heartstrings up tugging are any roguelikes like Risk of Rain 2, Don't Starve Together. All those types of games that kind of have that intense difficulty, permadeath. You make it as far as you can because, you know, that kind of skill gap really does intrigue me. Because it feels like you're kind of peeling away the skin of a game so that at first you'll get like the surface level, but you get rewarded with more content for just playing the game better.
Okay, what are some of your guys' least favorite games and genres?
Very simple, easy way to start it off. This is an inside joke and you know it, Gub. I hate factory games.
Woo!
Factory games, I'm all right with Satisfactory, but any other factory game, I hate it. I don't like simulator games a whole lot. Stuff where you're not actively doing something, it just feels like you're sitting there wasting your time and not really progressing in most cases. Or games that just outright confuse me to the point where I need to read like 5 guides to understand it.
I think the only games that I have like a really strong distaste for is games that require like a lot of a cooperation. Like, don't get me wrong, I do like team experiences, like, but more so I like the flavor that TF2 takes it, where you're kind of just like a bunch of people in a room, you know, basically kind of team deathmatching. But things like Valorant and other competitive shooters, it gets on my nerves a little bit because I have a little bit of an ego and I hate when you know, it feels like I'm being just carried along by a good team or vice versa, because then it feels like I'm not the one responsible and I take a lot of self-accountability.
All right, from your favorite to least favorite, now let's actually get into the game. For anyone who doesn't know, what is Into the Abyss?
All right, Into the Abyss is a game where you're recruited by ARC to go down in an elevator with up to 3 other people, and your goal is to get in, get out, reach the core, and each floor is set up in a Lethal Company style, but with the twist of Pizza Tower, where you have to reach a certain goal, get that goal, and then run as fast as you can back to the elevator.
I've heard people joke that the genre of game that our game is like an entirely new thing. It's called a pizza crawler, where it's a nice mixture of like a traditional dungeon crawler where you kind of grind up your, like, not necessarily your stats in this sense, but your like strength through optional items and have to make it to the end in order to start the escape sequence.
That's interesting. I don't think I've seen many games that use like a extraction phase similar to the artifacts in Arc. Oh, that's kind of neat that it's kind of got a genre dubbing, I suppose, but I'm trying to think of other games and not many come to mind.
It's weird, yeah, because I've noticed that thing as well, where, honest to God, there's not that many, like, extraction point games. The only things I can think of are more so, like, team co-op, like, 5v5 scenarios, where it's something similar to CSGO, but besides that,
you know what I can think
really.
of? The closest thing I can think of is REPO, and again, just minus elevation, because, like, after you complete all the tasks, you have, like, 60 seconds to get back.
Right.
It's not the same, but, like, with REPO, it's more of you take your loot to an extraction point. In our game, it's the other way around. You take the loot from the extraction point, and then you bring it to the part where you actually extract. I guess you could say it's more like a less of an extraction room and more of like the loot room, but it's not exactly loot, it's a required thing to progress.
Almost like a more like fantasy in place Payday.
I do agree with Minus. I just never thought about it like that similar like Minus, due to the task being the main objective rather than a specific item.
That's the deviation that I like that we ended up making. That there's like this very centralized, hey, don't touch it. Because it feels more like how Risk of Rain is with the portal at the end of each stage, where people have a mutually assured thing of, okay, we found it within the first couple seconds. However, we as a team are not ready yet. We're going to designate somebody to grab the artifact and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of cooperation.
There's like this intermediary phase where you know what your goal is, but you don't want to complete it right away because you can go out and you can get the other items that will most likely help you in the long run, because you can either sell them or craft them into new tools. And because of that, you're more like incentivized to not immediately run through the game. But it's always an option. It's just going to be a bit harder.
It's been mentioned already that a bunch of inspirations have come together for the creation of this game. Was this the original goal in mind when starting out, or did you plan for something else?
Honestly, this game started out as me trying to learn how the Roblox engine worked, because I was very new to anything Roblox about a year ago when I first made the prototype. And it taught me a lot, and ever since then I've more so been learning, and that was originally the main goal with the game. It wasn't actually making the game, it was to learn. So unintentionally, we've switched our goal to making this like an entire game, while at the same time not deviating from what we've been trying to do. We've been learning, and that's what I think is very important about this game. But that being said, this has been the very similar to what we originally planned over a year ago.
That's the nice thing. Our vision for how the game actually works on a fundamental level has been relatively the same. The only thing that's really changed is the scale, now that we are a lot more competent as a team. So we've had floors like Meat Locker planned almost over a year ago, I think, at this point. And the fact that these things that we've been concepting for so long are realizing to the vision that we've had planned all this time is kind of magical to me, because it it gives a lot of confidence to know that when a concept that gets drafted down, even just as a little napkin note, gets heard, it's something that will actually come to fruition instead of having to worry about the deviations and weird compromises and all that stuff.
All right, this is for my pure curiosity, but what is this? I'm gonna send an image.
Oh, that is... Okay, so a lot of the components, I'll call them, room components, make up the rooms. Each room is randomly generated, and the components can be switched out based on a random value associated with each one. That right there is a variant of the facility lights that are hanging on the roof. Sometimes you see a group of 2 of them, sometimes they'll be flickering, sometimes they'll just be destroyed. That is one of them having fallen from the ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
Gonna be honest, I never considered it being a light. I thought it was a barrier or something that powered down, a hard light barrier or something.
Oh, don't give me ideas. That's so cool.
The sides right there, they look like little stands, and then the center would be for holding a glass pane or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it looks like those whatever those emancipation grills from Portal.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about because I used to speedrun that game. It was the first game I ever played. I love it.
Yeah, no, those are just light fixtures that got knocked down. At first, I was worried because that was an implementation by Zuz that those would be misconstrued as scrap or something. And at first, it was definitely a learning experience because I'd instinctually look down and the floor used to be a lot more barren, there was no decorations. So anything that I could parse through the darkness that looked like an item, I'd immediately go and try to interact with. But now I feel that the facility is more decorated with pallets and vending machines. It fits a lot more with just how not necessarily decrepit facility is, but to show that it's abandoned and not maintained anymore.
Okay. The game has a bunch of cool stuff, from awesome artwork to interactables and some silly designs. I personally like the canvas board and the lift that you can spam interact alongside with the radio image inside of the lobby. What are some of your favorite silly additions to the game?
Absolutely, it's gotta be the artifacts, because okay, the other day we were implementing the imprisoned one. It's a spear with, let me pull it up, it's it's a specific like cube cat. I think you probably saw it. It was like your first artifact, I think.
It was awesome.
That is by far one of my favorite things that we added so far. It's just that with artifacts, they're supposed to be like, it's stuff that doesn't make sense. It shouldn't be there. It doesn't match anything. And that's the point. They're not supposed to be there. They're anomalous things. And yet they're so funny because we have so much freedom to it. And on top of that, like another thing, Brian, also known as the Jar of Brain. It's a craftable item, but it has like little fizz bones on it and you can shake it and it looks so stupid, but it's by far one of my favorite things I've implemented so far.
I think by far, obviously artifacts is a good blanket answer, but my favorite artifact that personally I implemented is this artifact called the Singing Salmon, or I guess you can call it the Funny Fish. And it's an artifact that I modeled one night at like 3 a.m. in a chat on our server. It's a fish on a board that when you interact with it, plays a little sample of Miku going, "I'm the singing salmon, doing it all day jamming." And that specifically, one that is a huge inside joke because I used to have this soundboard profile that was just like 20 to 30 different clips of me saying different variations of that. And that specific version was actually kind of composed by me from earshot because there, obviously a stupid sample like that has no midis just sitting around. So I just really like it. It's silly.
And one more thing I do want to mention, like not to prolong it, but there was something I programmed over 3 months ago. It's a very secret death screen. You have to get like a 1 in 250 or something odds. But you know when like in a video when a character dies and it cut to a black screen with a grayscale version of that character on the side and then like some random text next to it?
Is it like the character in Nullscape?
It's literally what Nullscape does when you die. It's that, but it shows your avatar. And that was the hardest thing to program because until like a few months ago, we didn't have like any accessibility for something called editable images. It's something in Roblox, but we were never able to make the image of your avatar grayscale without outright teleporting you in game to a space 10,000 studs out with a image and a grayscale filter put over the whole game. So after I learned about that, I implemented it. I added some funny text to it, and it is one of my favorite secrets that I always do when I have like a full house round where everyone's in the game.
I love memoriams.
On the topic of additions, I noticed an interesting NPC in the lobby. How did Lester from Project Rusher make their way into the Abyss?
Honestly, Gub, that's a you thing. You know all about this.
Okay, so basically, Rusher, I think, I'm not quite sure how we initially got into like contact with him. That was more of a Gato wizardry, but Rusher is a project that we were following for quite a while, even before we did game development. It's just a cool little like Roblox rhythm game, like, oh, it's kind of like Muse Dash, that's nice. But we ended up starting the dialogue with Chris because Chris actually wanted to use a couple of our songs. Actually, no, he wanted to have a couple of his songs in our game. So I pitched to Gato when he mentioned it to me, hey, it'd be kind of cool if Into the Abyss also did a collab with Rusher, and we actually committed to the whole bit. And Chris seemed really down with it. And so, you know, we both just chipped in our chips, and eventually now Chris I can probably consider is a good friend of ours now. He's just a cool dude. I love Chris. And yeah, it's fun to work with.
Yeah, no, Chris is great. There's an inside joke with me and Chris that Gub has a weird way of playing Project Rusher, and we made that part of our collab on both sides. Chris added a chart that specifically is tailored to screw with how Gub played the game. And I told Chris that of all the songs that we want in the game, it would be a song called Skibbity Slicers, which is now the escape trap, Skibbity Run.
Oh my gosh, and yes, hold on. I have a couple of clips of the vertical gameplay that I've sent to Chris before, and it's so good. Because I would literally go into OBS and I would rotate the viewport of the camera 90 degrees because, again, I play rhythm games. So the rhythm games I usually play are down scroll, meaning that the notes come from top to bottom. So, and his notes come from left to right. So what I'd do is I'd rotate it 90 degrees like this. It's just one of my overlays.
Rotating it does make sense.
Yeah, specifically for Evacuate, the chart has a gimmick where it rotates 90 degrees in order to make it look like the normal Rusher gameplay, specifically when I play it. And the gimmick card's this high up with a little smiley face.
Rotating screen does make sense. There's a lot of rhythm games that do the top to bottom.
Yeah, and honestly, I suck at his game when I play it the other way around, so now I've actually perfect ranked all of our songs that are currently in his game, specifically with that method. And I think Chris is a little mixture of like amused and annoyed by that.
It's funny. It's funny because Gub is only able to play the game like that when I'm only able to play the game normally, and I am the opposite of him where Gub does like down scroll so that it scrolls down. I do up scroll so that it scrolls up. We are like the opposites, but we both enjoy the same things.
All right, a little bit more into the game. How long has the game been in development for?
It started as a prototype in what, April 2014. Or not 2014,
2014, whoa.
Okay, so it started in April 2024 as a prototype. I made it in about a month. I believe I have a video of it from back then. It was so different. It had the TV head, but it was all just white and red boxes for all the walls and doors and everything. The map gen was worse, but it's been like that for about a year, and then cut to April 2025. We all find the game again. We started working on it again. Unfortunately, we're not the same team anymore, but we've been able to build off of it so much in just the past 4 months that I consider that a lot of progress, and I'm proud of it.
Yeah, because I remember those like really old builds. We have a video on Twitter of just all of us like giggling along, because back then there could be like upwards of 4 or 5 TV heads, and there was only the initial run of scraps. So I think it was like bolt, barrel, motherboard, a couple more of the other one. The clock was always there. That's one of the first features that just kind of meticulated themselves. Yeah, no, I kind of miss those days. I miss the like really tiny small, because we'd get excited when it's like, oh my gosh, we're at 300 plays now, and nowadays, in comparison, whoa.
I think I might have seen this Twitter post before. I usually find games or demos, early access stuff super early, and then I kind of just wait until they actually release, or I eventually get around to them. I think this might have been one. It's hard to keep track of all the games.
Question. I know you've like had a connection to Roblox underrated games.
Yep.
For a short time, we used to have like a post on their Twitter account, and that was how we got a lot of our early traction. So you might have seen that. Possibly.
They're good lad, Roblox underrated games. They've helped out a bunch. I still chat with them. Very awesome lad.
Yeah, I like the underrated Roblox games guy. He's fun to talk with.
All right, some inspirations were mentioned previously, but if we could just get a list of them in one section, that'd be very awesome.
A lot of the Roblox inspirations would be Pressure, Doors, a newer one at the Foundation. It inspired a lot of the facility design. Descent, which is very similar to what our game is like, but it's more on the side of Lethal Company, and of course Minus Elevation. And then for non-Roblox inspiration, definitely Lethal Company, because that's what most of our game has been built on. It's get in, get scrap, bring it back to sell. And surprisingly, the Upturned, which is a game made by Zeekers, who also made Lethal Company, but not a lot of people seem to talk about it. But that's where a lot of the quirky fun factor comes from in our game. It's specifically humor based on the Upturned, and I really wish that I got a lot more recognition in some other games as well.
Yeah, and I think personally just 2 others is Don't Starve Together, mainly for, how it does a lot of its like crafting and all that kind of stuff of being improvised, and Risk of Rain's a really big inspiration. I've dabbled in making some roguelikes, so when it comes to the design decisions for this game, I like taking a lot from how Risk of Rain does it. Like the scaling of enemies was inspired by how the enemies scale in Risk of Rain 2. And When it comes to like the OST, surprisingly enough, Pizza Tower, I didn't really realize that that's what I was doing, but subconsciously, like I listened to It's Pizza Time the other day, and I just realized, oh wow, GTFI uses a lot of the same composing techniques that a lot of the Pizza Tower soundtrack uses. So I kind of have to say tongue-in-cheek, yeah, Pizza Tower.
A few differences were mentioned earlier, but were there any others when comparing your guys' game to some of the inspirations or some similar games like the mentioned Descent on Roblox?
So a lot of these games, they're all specifically catering to one formula. Like Descent is specifically catering to the Lethal Company. I guess you could say Friend Slop category, but it's very high quality, and it's a shame to see that the game got canceled. But a lot of those games are very specific in the way that they proceed with their gameplay. We wanted to change that. We wanted to combine everything into one experience so that it caters to every sort of gameplay style.
That's a big thing for me in terms of the balancing of our game, is to have a variety of gameplay styles that not necessarily everybody would want to toy with, but it gives good variety for people who like playing a certain way.
So yeah, that being said, while we want to make the game cater to everyone, one of the ways that we do it is not the traditional way. So you know Nullscape, right? And a lot of other games, they'll handle different playstyles by introducing classes, different ways to move around or different bonuses. That's something that we don't really want to do in the normal way, but we do want to involve somehow, mainly through a perk system. But we're doing it differently in the way that everyone is going to start the same, but there's so many different ways that you can use the tool that you're given as like a normal player to play an entirely different style.
Everyone gets access to the same tools, but just by preference, they play differently, which is nice.
Have either of you had major points or memories during the development of the game so far?
Absolutely. Definitely when I stopped working on the prototype last year, that was like a distant memory. I remember it fondly because it was very fun trying to learn how to make a game in a new engine. Seeing how far we've come, that definitely has created like a lot more sentimental value to that. And a lot of the time when we get like a new huge update out, that itself is just a memory in its own. Like I can think back to each update where we've added something substantial that made the game like way more polished. And there are so many funny things that we've done just in that short period of time that I can look back on fondly. It's really funny.
This is going to be a little bit more of a silly memory, but I remember when I first got hired at the pizza place I'm working at now. During that time, there was a really big power surge that knocked out power for the entire city for like 3 or 4 days. And one of my fond memories is I still had charge of my phone, and I was listening to GTFI Move Faster, because around that time was when I first finished Move Faster, which was like one of the first escape sequences that I ended up making, like one of the first escape sequence tracks. So I have a lot of fond memories of specifically that time. I like looking back on that.
Has there been any interesting or cool stories within the community so far? Stuff like someone reaching a super high floor or something of the sorts?
Okay, so one of the biggest things that we had in our game for the longest time until we had Meat Locker, there's a badge called Kleptomaniac, where you have to get 9,999 credits in one game. There's also Serious Dedication, where you have to get 100,000 credits, but that's like over your lifetime value of scrap. By far, one of the most insane things to happen was we were in a group, and we were the first one to verify that with the old scrap pool, after about 20 floors, it was possible to obtain the Kleptomaniac badge, and it was possibly the hardest achievement to ever get in the game, and it still probably would be in this compared to now. Like, it is a joke because Meat Locker is a lot more, it has a higher value for scrap. If you were to still do it on just facility, it is one of the hardest achievements, but back then this was a huge accomplishment, and we were very happy to see that it was possible.
Yeah, the first one we did took, I think, roughly 4.5 hours and took 8 people's worth of manpower, with half the crew leaving like about 2 hours in.
I was eating dinner during like 2 floors.
Yeah, the first obtainable Kleptomaniac was definitely a hard one.
How can we forget Terry?
Terry! I love Terry! Oh my god!
Okay, so back in the early days, back when we had our first redesign of the lobby, there was like 2 of them, and we're still redesigning it as we speak. In that first lobby redesign, we had this guy called Terry join, and Terry was not normal. He was very much weird in the way that all he would do was sit in the lobby and just use like some sort of cheat to fly around, and anyone who would touch him, because we didn't have like non-collidable player hitboxes, if you touched him, you just went flying. And it was funny, and we weren't mad, and we just told Terry, look, you can do that as long as you're not ruining other people's time. And since then, he's unironically been one of the most chill people to be talk to, and he has been a huge supporter of us this entire time. And that's why if you were to start a private lobby, you might notice that there's Terry. He's just floating in the corner. That's how we honor him.
Yeah, Terry. At first he was just like an exploiter, and we were even debating to ourselves, do we ban this guy? He just because he wasn't doing anything malicious, and there would be like videos he'd occasionally post in our server of him just like messing around in single player and be like, "Am I the goat?" with a survey like this is yes or yes, and it's just him no clipping to the artifact and no clipping back without collecting any scrap. So there's a lot of funny things with Terry. So when we did our anniversary, when we did I think it was our 500,000 player event where we put balloons in the lobby, we decided to also just make a Terry balloon, and that's how we memorialized him as part of the game's history.
It might not be impressive, it might not be grand, but it's something funny, and we were so impressed with the way that he behaved for what he was originally doing that it only felt right.
Yeah, and he's played into the Terry persona since. His Discord banner is his original Roblox icon under a spotlight and shit. It is so cute. I fucking love what Terry's been doing.
I did notice the NPC floating around. I honestly just thought it was a developer. A lot of games will add developers as NPCs into lobbies. I thought it was one.
I don't blame you, because okay, so something that we do, instead of having NPCs, we just join our game, we'll sit in the lobby and we'll fly around and do funny things with our community, every few days. And sometimes people will mistake Terry for being real, and they'll be like, "Terry, can I get an autograph? Can I get a screenshot?" It's so funny. But that being said, we don't really reference ourselves too much in the game, because we're not in it to be the star of the show. We're making a game because we want people to have fun. That's what's most important.
Yeah, I like the game standing on its own objective merit of quality instead of it being oh my gosh, this guy works on it.
On the topic of development, have either of you encountered challenges that were unexpected or difficult to tackle?
I think more than we can count, honestly.
Yeah, we've run into every starter issue. We've had to scrap a lot of ideas because they're just outright not going to be viable for us. I've scrapped 5 things this week, I think. Honestly, I have. And it's kind of sad, but sometimes we just throw our heads at the wall, and sometimes it sticks and sometimes it doesn't, and you have to just work with that.
That's one of the main things when it comes to designing a new concept, is you can't be scared of what you're implementing is going to get scrapped or anything like that, because honestly, that kind of just comes with the description. This morning before I went to the dentist, I pitched to Gato the idea of a GPS item that instead of like being like a mini map would tell you to like turn right or left at certain directions.
In 5 studs, turn right.
Yeah, and like it's like in 5 studs, take a left, which would have been funny. It's like one of those things, but Gato just said no, and can't be mad about that. That's just how that kind of cookie crumbles.
Yeah, like with that sort of thing, if we wanted to make it an actual GPS, you'd have to get where the player is on the map, and then you'd have to find a path back to the thing, and then you'd have to convert that to directions. It's not a very simple task, and we're a very small team, so we don't really have the manpower to brute force that, and it's just something we have to accept sometimes.
All right, we're getting to the end here. As a developer, do you have any advice, or rather I should say as game creators, do you have any advice to anyone trying to become one?
Absolutely. If you're going to get started, I highly recommend Roblox if you want to learn the fundamentals, but getting serious about it is going to be very taxing on you if you really commit to it, because we've had like a lot of time where we've just devoted a whole week to working on the game and we've had to neglect some other things, and it's not a good practice. You should honestly avoid that. Don't get too serious about it. It should be something fun. You should want to do it because it's fun, not because you feel like I should spend all my time on this or else I'm not being productive. And something that I've always heard, never go on like any sort of social media with the intention of talking to other developers, because I've been in like Roblox Twitter spaces and it is the most not beneficial thing that you can have as a developer. A lot of people there will tell you this. If you do not put microtransactions, if you do not overly promote your game, if you do not oversimplify your game, if you do not do this, do that, your game's gonna fail. You're not gonna reach that front page and you're going to be forgotten. And you know what I say? They might be right about the fact that sometimes it's better to have monetization because the Roblox algorithm will honestly support that. But you should never give up, honestly. If we gave up and we listened to those people, I've had so many people from that group be like, this is why your game sucks and here's why you should improve it. We didn't. We went our own way and we found our fans. And that's what you can do too. Just don't give up. Don't listen to these people who are telling you this is how you should do your game. It's not always the best thing. You're not going to enjoy it. Sometimes you'll create something that you really do enjoy, and it's up to you to find a way to make it enticing. But never listen to other people who will tell you make your game slop. It's not a good mentality.
Trust your vision as a creator, because honestly, what comes more so to the spotlight of whenever you're making something isn't what you do that's similar to other games, it's what you do that's different to other games. And I think my biggest token of advice is when you're working with other people, try to surround yourself with people that you entirely enjoy being around all the time over people who are just objectively talented. What matters more is that you're enjoying the work that you're doing and you feel open enough in your space to be able to like pitch ideas and concepts and, you know, have your own voice be heard, rather than just being a work mule for somebody who doesn't care about you and just wants you for your talent.
Yeah, we've had issues with that, and coming back from it, it has made the development experience much more enjoyable. And I highly recommend, if you don't enjoy something, that's when you should stop. Don't do it because you're being paid or because you want to do it, or you don't want to do it, but someone wants you to do it for them. Do it because you want to do it. It's your game.
I have no idea how I skipped over this one, but when starting the game it mentions we are constantly pushing out updates every few days. How does planning and progression factor into such a frequent schedule for developing this game?
It is a lot of prerequisite organization. For example, in our Discord server, we have a channel called Sigmagestions, which is a homage to an actual internal spreadsheet that we've had for like ever since the game first started. Like if I were to pull it up real quick. Here is the original Sigmagestions with all the original things that we were implementing into the game. And we would just specifically say that we are pitching these ideas, like, you know, we want crafting, we want a respawn machine, we want finishers, we want chase music, this, that, and the other. And we would just go through the list every couple of days or so when we don't know what we're going to work on specifically, and just reevaluate everything on that list. As you can see, there's a lot of things that are scrapped, but that original Sigmagestions, this was the list that was made for the original pre-alpha when we were still called that, and everything is just gotten done. And some of it wasn't even like us directly getting it done, like taunts, for example, and the pipe animations and all that kind of stuff all happened around the same time because they were all prerequisites to each other, and we just always reevaluate what we need to do.
Yeah, and also like a large part of frequent updates, trying to keep that sense of progression being there. We're constantly trying to go back and like balance the game at the same time as we work on features to the newest floor. So right now we're doing a lot of the meat locker stuff. There's a few items that we still have to add that are like craftables. There's a new like room generation mechanic that we wanted to add that would make the game a lot more interesting once you get to like the second floor. But then again, you also have to worry about the fact that not everyone's going to make it to the second floor. So we have to to go back and we changed some stuff in the facility, for example, like how much power you get from one artifact. We've changed that recently to be a bit more so that it's easier for people without spending like 2 hours on the game to reach the second floor. So a lot of the frequent updates are small content and then either bug fixes or changes to make the game more enjoyable as like a new experience.
I think one of the biggest things you can do as a developer of a game, honestly, is to just play your own game, and whatever features that you want added, now you actually have the knowledge to say that, hey, I want this feature added. I'm a developer. I can actually do that. That is something that is in the cards. Because honestly, one of the biggest things that has frustrated me about some games is their dry streak and mentality of, oh, we need to just save the updates to happen every 2.5 months. And if there's a huge like balancing issue that's incredibly prevalent, we have to wait for the mid-season update or the chapter update or whatever update they choose to arbitrarily like put it upon. And I feel like having your game effectively be dead for a couple weeks because you're unable to play the game because of a certain like outstanding issue, that is a very terrible way to go. That's why we update so frequently, is to make sure that people are still having fun.
And also one more thing, after we finish Meat Locker, we're going to be switching off of the constant update cycle into a more prolonged cycle of maybe about a month in between updates, or like 2 or 3 weeks. Just something so that you're getting content every week or two that you can come back to and experience compared to every day where it's something small.
Yeah, so that, you know, if you leave for more than a couple days, you don't feel like the game's you're being left behind. That could also happen. So for Greenhouse mainly, what we want to do is maybe put like a beta branch system where people can opt in to play in the game, but the stable and a hyper balanced version of the game is always there and available for people who don't want to have an unfinished part of their game on an otherwise quality experience.
I won't mention it out loud in case the suggestions are like developer only, keep out kind of ideas, but I did notice one. I might have got slightly distracted by it.
I sent that to Gub. Because I forgot he added it on the suggestions. Gub, should we explain this? this?
I'm fine with saying this with my chest. The Crankable Hog, right?
There was a joke item that Gub and Zuz really wanted to add.
I didn't want it.
No, we're not adding. Oh wait, you.
It was
Was it just Zuz?
So the only reason I advocated so hard for it was Zuz comes in waves, and sometimes in order to keep him like, you know, interested in working on the game, there are some features that we have to entertain for a little bit that necessarily don't fit the vision or whatever, but you know, they just get added because it's something that Zuz wants to do. One of those for a while was the hog. The hog, okay, on a game balance philosophy is also just a bad idea. That's one of the big reasons why it was scrapped. But also no, we cannot put an item called a Crankable Hog in a Roblox game.
And for context, it was literally like a piggy bank with a car motor inside with a crank on the side that you would wind up like the flashlight in pressure.
All right, we have now reached the end of my questions. Do you have any things you'd like to mention at the end here?
Not that I can think of. I mean, I've said my piece about a lot of the troubles I've experienced doing this and why it's a good idea to go with what you think is best for your game. Don't listen to other people. But that's all I can really say. Just keep to it. Don't give up because you feel like you're unmotivated or like you can't do something. You can do it. Just keep trying. It'll happen.
Whatever you do, just do it. Like, the worst thing that you can do is just spend all of your time thinking about it when you could be out there applying yourself and stumbling. Because if I stopped at my first couple pieces of music and spent like a couple years trying to compose something instead of, you know, what I normally do is a couple weeks at most and then move on to the next thing, then I wouldn't be able to move forward. I'd be stuck in the past, really, and then it would just be a dead project.
Just a heads up, this is the only flaw with my format is the final question. In case you wanted to, I should have said if you have anything you would like to mention or promote, but if not, all good.
Project Rusher.
We love Chris!
Chris, you're the GOAT!
That works.